When I was at Southwest Airlines, people called all the time, and they would ask us the question, how do you become just plain smart? Our ad campaign during the 90s. And I remember telling them, it was so clear in my mind, I would say, you have to lead smart. You have to create an environment where employees can do their best work. How does that relate to business? As we examine our own personal value system and we try to align that with our professional value system, we have to ask ourselves as leaders, are we considering the employees that are in our area of leadership? Because it's their value system we have to connect with. And we have to help them align their value system with the corporate value system. People ask all the time, how come you have a fun, productive culture at Southwest Airlines? Because we have fun, productive leaders who don't look for problems in employees, they look for opportunity and potential in employees. The culture is, we own the company. The critical mass of any organization is the ruling mass. Do you guys feel like you run this place? You don't have to answer that. Typically, organizations, you don't feel like you run the organization, but in reality, the critical mass always runs the organization. So I want you to think in terms of teams, it's about more, it's about better, and it's about faster. More work, better work, and faster work. If our use of teams is not producing more work, if it's not producing better work, there's no need to use a team. 1 + 1 has to equal 5, because that's the true essence of a team. We take the talents and skills of one person, combine them with the talents and skills of another person, they complement each other so that together they produce what 5 people can produce. So first, we have to identify who is our customer, and we have to take a micro view of that. We can't just operate in generalities and expect that we're going to pinpoint and perfect our service. Now, second, we've got to ask ourselves, what's important to our customer? We no longer have the luxury of saying, here's our service, take it or leave it. We've got to give up that thinking, and we've got to take the mindset of the customer and say, what's important to you? And then not only try to meet that, but exceed that. It's people who are willing to give up their right to themselves and they deliberately invest in others that we all remember. Some of us, we're going to grow up and name our kids after the people that we're thinking about right now because they've made a huge difference in your life. They've done something that you'll never forget. Some of you, it may have been a parent. Some of you, it may have been a coach. It could have been somebody that you knew for a brief period of time, but you'll never, ever forget that person. That's the essence of leadership. It's investing yourself in such a way that the application is going to produce in an ordinary person extraordinary results. If you say you have a value system, you intend to do things, your behavior should line up with that. That's personal value. That's personal integrity, that I'm living out what I say I believe. Almost all of us have a value in us that includes another person. This is the leadership trap. Because I say I value somebody, now it's no longer just my value system I have to consider. I have to consider your value system, and your value system, and your value system. I actually had a supervisor one time tell me, I would love this job if it wasn't for all these employees. And I said, that's the purpose of your work. That's like a customer service agent saying, I'd love this job if it wasn't for all the customers. Our job as leaders is to invest ourselves in such a way into the employee group that we work with that they can do their best work. And sometimes we have to do things we don't feel like doing. But it's not about how we feel, it's about getting results. It's pulling ourselves out of the daily grind and becoming a performance coach. It's looking down on that group of employees and say, how can I invest myself in such a way that they can do their best work? What deserves my leadership attention today? And then strategically using good leadership economy, I call it behavior economy, it's doing as few actions as possible to get the greatest amount of results. Spending time with employees, modeling behavior. We have to ask ourselves, what comes first? Do I motivate my employees so they become more productive? Or do I get my employees more productive so that they feel motivated? See, the leadership model I'm talking about is not, let's give everything to the employees so they feel good and then maybe they'll work. That's not the point. The point is, let's create an environment where people are reaching their goals, where they're growing, where they're feeling like they're valued for who they are as professionals. And then the motivation comes. I believe that motivation comes as a result of being productive. As we get into our teams and we begin to form teams, we've got to have a purpose behind that team. And that purpose has to be in alignment with what our business goals are. And within the purpose of that, you're always managing two things. There's always two things in play when you're dealing with teams. There's the task that has to get done, and there's the people that have to complete that task. So as the task and the people line up, you've got to make sure that the purpose across the board makes sense. So you have goal and role clarity. You make sure that everyone understands the goals of the team and that everyone's clear on their role. And then on the people side, you have to drive towards commitment. And we do that through our reward systems. We do that through our feedback mechanisms and making sure that we're communicating in such a way that we're rewarding and communicating for team performance and not individual performance. I see it all the time. I go into companies, they say, well, they're not working as a team. I say, how are they compensated? Well, we compensate on individual performance. Then don't expect them to work as a team. You can't compensate here and expect to get this behavior. What gets rewarded gets repeated. What gets recognized gets repeated. So we want to make sure that we're recognizing and rewarding team behavior. You can't do that by yourself. You've got to have a team to do it. So you put a behavioral practice in place, and then you say, you know what? I want you to do it with less people. And I want you to do it faster. I want you to do more work, better work, and faster work. Remember that? I want you to do that in a way that's dynamic and efficient. And the only way we can do that is with teams. Now, as the team accomplishes that, then their confidence comes up. I hate to see when someone makes it easy on a team. Because if you make it easy on the team, no one feels confident about that. But when you give a team an impossible task and they accomplish it, guess what happens? Their confidence goes way up. So at the second level of the house, put practices in place that are difficult for your teams to accomplish. Don't make it easy on them, and don't reward them for things that anybody could do. Give them an impossible task, watch them do it, and then reward the heck out of them, and you'll see their confidence come up like crazy. It's only then do you start really achieving empowerment. You've got to have people that are confident, who are accomplishing amazing things, and together that team is functioning in such a tight manner that you can truly empower them. And it's at that third level of the house that you see teams take off. You see new leaders emerge at that level. You see new leaders begin to train the younger staff members. You see people integrating new members into their team. You actually see the team become almost a mechanism for change because they feel empowered. It's their organization at that point. All you have to do is step back and begin to reward and recognize the performance that's happening. That's the true high-performing team model. It's in that we can truly influence their filter, the radar system. They're judging your service based on how reliable you are. Do you provide me assurance that you're going to do the job? What are the tangibles of the facilities and staff look like? How empathetic are you? Do you show me empathy for my concerns? And then how responsive are you going to be in fixing my problems? A moment of truth is any time that a customer comes into contact with any part of your service and gets an impression of your service. And Jan Carlson said, well, we have 5 moments of truth. It's when they call a res system. It's when they show up at the airport. It's when they're at the gate. It's in flight. And did their bags get there? If we can make those moments of truth fit within the radar system I discussed, if I can have each one of those be a positive, powerful service experience, we're going to turn this around. So as we dive into the moments of truth, we can begin to analyze where are the opportunities in my business to impress my customer. And guess what? Once I impress my customer, what does that become? That becomes normal service. So what do I have to do the next year or the next week maybe? I have to augment that. And I have to continue to augment my service so that the customer has the impression that I care. Now, that seems unreasonable. I've never seen a higher customer demand in my life than now. And I love it. I think it's great because as service providers, we will always be trying to augment our service, always trying to outdo what we did before, never getting tired of the customer, understanding that they're the purpose of our work, not an interruption of it. Sometimes our customer service is going to fail to meet expectations. And when that happens, we've got to find a way to recover that service, a clear path to get us back on track. Now, the C in clear stands for remain calm and caring. Bad things are going to happen to good companies. And as those things happen, we have to remain calm and caring, realizing that it's not the norm and we didn't intend to hurt the customer's relationship with the company. And if we can do that, the customer's going to have the ability to grow with us and to feel like we care about them. It's just like any relationship. You put the relationship into tension. If you survive the tension, the relationship goes to a new level and it grows. But if we don't actively pursue to fix that situation, then we're going to lose the relationship. So we have to stay calm and caring. It has to matter to us that we did not meet the expectation. Next, we have to listen. We have to understand from the customer's viewpoint what it is that we did or did not do that failed to meet their expectations. Now, listening is more than just hearing. Listening means non-verbally attending. It's how we use our body language. It's how we use our eye contact. It's making notes. It's following up. So we truly need to listen. The E stands for empathize. As the customer explains and we're listening to what happened to the customer, we've got to put ourselves in their shoes. We've got to ask ourselves, wow, that must have been scary for that customer. It must have been hurtful for that customer. And we've got to empathize. The A is the thing I think is missing all the time in service breakdowns, is we don't ever apologize, even if it wasn't your fault. I know at the airport we used to always get, well, if the fog wasn't here, we could leave and it's your fault. And I still had to say, I'm so sorry that you missed your meeting. We're going to try to get you out in the next flight. We have to apologize even if it's not our fault. And the R stands for repair the situation. Listen, empathize, apologize, and then repair the situation. If we repair it, there is a 95% chance that that person is not only going to do business with you again, they're probably going to go tell 5 or 6 people about the great job you did.